Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and once again, welcome back to the Grand Prix World Series. My name is Topher Smith, and we have now hit the halfway point of the season. 8 races are done and 8 to go. The second half of the season, starting off today with the Istanbul Grand Prix, the fan favourite circuit, making a return to the Grand Prix World Series calendar once again. But before we get started with today's action, following last time out at the Nürburgring, we had a mid-season driver test in which each team's reserve driver and test driver were able to get out on track and show their worth against the team's regular race drives to see if any of them could stake a case for a full-time race seat for the second half of the season. Starting off with League 2, let's take a look through at what happened, courtesy of Tom Cairns.
The mid-season test kicked off with the League 2 drivers in action, each team fielding its reserve driver and an additional test driver in order to evaluate them for future race seats. Topping the times was Linus Lundqvist for the Andretti team. The Swede competed at the Indianapolis Grand Prix earlier this season, where he scored a highly respectable second place, and once again showed his potential during the mid-season test, attempting to stake a claim for a race seat for the rest of this season or for Season 5. Less than a tenth of a second behind Lundqvist was the Dome of Ren Sarto and the Dams of Colton Herta, the latter earning himself a recall to a race seat with Phil Kinch's team. Hibiki Taira ensured both Domes were in the top 5, ahead of the Prima Racing duo of Season 2 League 2 Drivers Champion Will Power and newbie Arvid Lindblad, while Kyle Larson outdid Grand Prix World Series race winner Matt Campbell to finish P8. Carrie Schreiner was the top performing female driver as she lapped her Andretti 11th fastest, while Dorian Pan put in a respectable performance to put her Surtees 14th. Julian Anlauer and Theo Overhaus put in LaRussi's best collective effort of the season, but neither was called up to a race seat with Chris Hovesy's team, while Alexander Rossi tested for Dams but was snapped up by Ed Hunter's Real squad for the Istanbul Grand Prix. James Collado featured for the first time since last season's mid-season test and lapped 18th fastest, ahead of the sack speed of Pepe Marti and the Scuderia Coloni of Alex Dunn. Alicia Palmovsky, fresh from her race appearance in Mugello, was 22nd fastest behind Bianca Bustamante, while the Tom Enduro of Taylor Barnard and Ralph Aron propped up the field. All drivers lapped within a second of each other in a highly competitive session.
Thank you very much, Tom. We'll bring you through what happened in the League 1 mid-season drive test a bit later on. But for now, let's crack on with the rest of the League 2 action for today. And start off with, let's have a look at the drivers and team standings heading into today. And in the Drivers' Championship, it is Alex Palou that still leads the way. But following last time out of the Nürburgring, his lead has come down to 1 point over Callum Eilert. 84 points, plays 83 between those two. It's getting very tight as we head towards the second half of the season. Tomoki Najiri third in a Prema on 75 points, ahead of his fellow Japanese driver Ryo Hirakawa in the Carlin. 63 points for him, that puts both Carlins in the top 4 in the championship. Nick De Vries in the Andretti on 45, same as Kimi Antonelli in the Scuderia Coloni. Antonelli yet to win a race this season. Stoffel van Dorn 7th in the Zach Speed, ahead of Matt Campbell, Nick Cassidy and Jake Dennis rounding out the top 10 in the Andretti. Looking over the team standings, Carlin leads the way on 146 points. Perry Brown winning the first half of the season effectively and hopes to maintain his form across the second half so he can at the very least get promotion into League 1 next season, but hopefully for him that League 2 title will be coming his way, but not if the likes of Prema, Ram and Andretti have anything to say about it. Prema on 128, Ram on 122, and Andretti still within touching distance on 100. Those 4 teams looks like they're going to be the ones fighting it out for the title and for the 3 promotion spots into League 1 next season. Zach Speed and Dome on 66 points each, head of Coloni on 55, 40 Corsi on 53, Dams on 48, and Surtees rounding out the top 10 on 20. And at the back of the field, Real on 12, LaRousse on 5, and Tolman on 3. Hopefully those 3 teams will be picking up some more points in the second half of the season. Before we take you through the grid for today's race, a couple of driver changes to make note of. The first of those coming at the Dams team, and some of you might remember earlier on, Danny Juncadella was brought in to replace the underperforming Colton Herta at Phil Kinch's squad. But following the mid-season test, Phil Kinch has decided to put Herta back into the car. Herta really impressed in the mid-season test, as Tom showed you earlier, and he's been given another chance to show his worth alongside Pato Ward and in the yellow and black car. The second and final driver change today comes at the Real team, as Ed Hunter is now using all 5 of his allowed drivers for the season. Alexander Rossi has been brought in place of Sam Bird. Rossi tested for the Dams team in the mid-season test, but was not put into a race or reserve role. He became a free agent, and Ed Hunter decided to snap him up and put him in place of Sam Bird, who wasn't performing as expected in his handful of races for the Real team. Let's see how Rossi gets on today and how Ed Hunter will assess his team for the rest of the season. And now that's all out of the way, let's take a look at the grid for today's race and take you down to trackside. And it is Callum Ilott in the Carlin who's gone on to pole position. The championship contender goes over a tenth quicker than his fellow Brit Jake Dennis in the Andretti. Ryo Hirakawa puts both Carlins into the top 3. Then both the Premers of Tomoki Najiri and Louis Foster rounding out the top 5. Pato Ward and Colton Herta together in 6th and 7th, the 2 Dams drivers there together, ahead of Nick de Vries, Rotoma Miata and Stoffel van Dorn rounding out the top 10 in the Zach Speed. In 11th place is Nick Cassidy, and what was overall not a very good day for the Dome squad. Usually they're on the front row, but a below par qualifying performance from both Miata and Cassidy today. Kimi Antonelli 12th in the Colonia, ahead of the 2 Rams of Jack Doohan and Alex Palou. Alexander Rossi on his return to the Grand Prix World Series lines up 15th in the Real, ahead of Luke Browning, Toby Sarri, Zach O'Sullivan and Jess Hawkins, 4 Brits on the grid together there. And Max Gunter rounding out the top 20, out-qualified today by his new incoming teammate Alexander Rossi. And then at the back of the grid, Paul Aron, Robin Freins, Abby Pulling, Sarah Moore, Matteo Caroli and Dennis Hauger propping up the field. 1.3 seconds off the pace. It is a bit of a longer track than usual here today, so don't read too much into that, but we'll see how the race goes today. Is Callum Ilott about to take the lead in the Drivers' Championship? Will Jake Dennis make the most of his front row start? Can the Domes recover from their poor qualifying to get onto the podium? There's only one way to find out, and it's by heading down to trackside for the start of the race. Ready and waiting in the commentary box, it's over to Tom Cairns.
We enter the second half of the season. It's game on in the championship, with Callum Ilott on a run of 4 podiums in a row. Can he continue that way here at Istanbul by leading off the line from pole? We've got 2, 3, 4 and 5 lights are coming on. Lights are on. Lights are off. And away we go in Istanbul Park. Callum Ilott getting away beautifully from pole, but he's got Jake Dennis alongside, and there's the Dams coming through. Pato Ward on the inside. He snatches the lead from Callum Ilott into turn 1, so Ward leads. Ilott second. It's Dennis, Hirakawa, Najiri, Foster, De Vries, Van Dorn, Miata and Herta in the second Dams, rounding out the top 10 so far. A lightning start from Pato Ward, who looks to get his championship season back on track after a tricky first half of the campaign for the French team of Dams under the eyes of Phil Kinch. So he leads from the Carlin of Ilott, who finished second last time out at Nürburgring, behind teammate Ryo Hirakawa, rounding out the team's first ever 1-2 in the Grand Prix World Series. And they've closed in. I think they might be in the lead of the team's championship now, which they are, on 146 points coming into the round. We'll make that 147 with Ilott on pole, and Ilott is about to lose second position to Jake Dennis, and Dennis is next to go by. Is Callum Ilott running a heavier fuel load compared to the others? We'll find out soon enough as the race progresses. We've got the 2 Premers locked in combat, Tomoki Najiri and Louis Foster nearly swapping positions through the kink of turn number 11. Approaching the hairpin of turn 12, Najiri not able to find a way through past his compatriot and Super Formula rival Ryo Hirakawa. And there is O'Ward sprinting away over the line at the end of lap 1 as he hopes to give the team's first ever win in this championship. He collected the team's first ever podium earlier on in the campaign at Montjuic Park. And we've got a driver already in the pits, Alex Palou, has been in. The championship leader has once again hit trouble, and Abby Pullen's also in. Have those two come together at the start, I wonder? Not 100% sure, but either way, that has prompted both drivers into the pits, and it's going to be lonely races for them from here. It'll be very difficult for either of them to salvage anything today. So we see Colton Herter back in the dams in place of Danny Junkendaya. Herter did race earlier on in the season. He had a spell on the sidelines to let Junkendaya had a go. And what a job Herter has done already. Behind Herter is the Coloni of Kimi Antonelli, who's on a run of 3 races without a point. He really could do with getting his season back on track. And the same for Coloni as well. Jake Dennis has been beginning to close in on O'Ward a little bit. Coming round towards the end of lap number 2. Callum Isla under attack from Rio Hirakawa. And behind Najiri, his teammate Louis Foster. Or in fact, no, that's the sack speed of Stoffel van Dorn getting through on Nick de Vries at turn 12. And he's gone up into 7th place. And there's contact, and Dennis Hauger has been hit by the other sack speed of Robin Fines. And that'll see the Tolman in the pits at the end of the lap. But that looks avoidable from Robin Fines, who came too close and ran into the Tolman at the hairpin. And at least Hauger hasn't got far to go to get to the pit lane. But it's going to be a long race for him, as much as it will be for Alex Palou and Abby Pullen that came in at the end of the opening lap. You can just see there Robin Fines running into Dennis Hauger. And the stewards will have a verdict on that, but I would say that Fines is the man that's going to be hit with the punishment. It's a 30-second time penalty and a back of the grid penalty for the next race for Fines, which will be at Parnu in Estonia, which is one of many new venues in the Grand Prix Series this season. Istanbul is not. Istanbul has played host to the Grand Prix Series in the last 3 seasons now, including this one. It's provided some entertaining action and unpredictable results along the way. O'Ward in the lead, Dennis second, it's Ilott, Hirakawa, Foster, Najiri, Van Dorn, De Vries, Miata and Herter rounding out the top 10. I suppose the good news for Alex Palou is that he's in front of Abby Pullen. He might get in front of Dennis Hauger and pull away from him, so he's off a couple of positions, to say the least. We've just seen an overtake further back, and it looks like Alexander Rossi, who is back in a race car for the first time this season for Real in place of Sam Bird. He's just got through on Jack Doohan in the Ram. We see the 2 Primers swapping positions. Najiri getting through on Foster for 5th place. We've got 2 Carlins in 3rd and 4th and 2 Primers in 4th and 5th. In 5th and 6th, sorry. Dennis has got the gap down to just under half a second on O'Ward as they begin lap 4. A long time to go in the race. Who will be making the 2 stop and who will be making the 1? We've got another driver in the pits already, and that's Max Gunter in the Real, who has hit trouble. A lot of drivers have been in the wars already in the race, but at least they're still in the race. The Lead 2 race at Istanbul last season, at the time, set a new record for the most number of Grand Prix World Series finishes in a race. 23 it stands. And there is Max Gunter coming out of the pits in front of Dennis Hauger in 24th place. And now we're about to see a change for the lead. Jake Dennis on the inside of Pato O'Ward into turn number 9, and that is the breakthrough into the lead of the Lead 2 Istanbul Grand Prix. Jake Dennis, already a race winner this season at Zolder, going for win number 2 and getting Andretti's season back on track and their hopes for promotion, as well as the championship title in their maiden season in the Grand Prix Series. Further back, we'll see Nick de Vries and almost the dome of Ritoyo Miata getting through on Stoffel van Dorn. at turn 12. De Vries through into P7. He has to remain in P9, and we see Jack Doohan locking up at the penultimate turn in front of the 40 of Zach O'Sullivan. And I wonder if the two may have made contact going into the corner. No, they didn't. Doohan just locked up and went too deep, and was lucky to keep hold of the position. Jack Doohan in his third Grand Prix Series race. He's retired from both events he's competing in since he substituted for Matt Campbell. And the move came to a surprise. Well, it came as a surprise to a lot of team managers. As Matt Campbell won in his last outing at Dijon-Bourgogne. It still wasn't enough for him to retain his seat in the short term at least. Istanbul Park, host of round 9 of 16 in season 4 in the Grand Prix Series. After Istanbul, we head to Pärnu in Estonia. It's off to Anderstorp in Sweden, which will be the last European round of the campaign. And then it's off to Zhuhai in China. Just seeing a move from Louis Foster getting through on Rio Hirakawa. And that's for 5th position. Hirakawa's dropped back a couple of positions. Going back to what I was saying about the calendar, Zhuhai in China is the host for round 12. Before Otopolis, Supung in South Korea, Sepang in Malaysia, and the 16th and final round will be at Surfers Paradise in Australia. There is also the World Non-Championship round in Macau, featuring the highest scoring 13 teams across the two leagues competing in that. You see Louis Foster running in 5th position in front of Rio Hirakawa. Seen a lot of overtakes so far. Colton Hurst has got through on Ritomo Miyata for 9th position. Antonelli holding firm in P11 ahead of Alexander Rossi, Jack Doohan, Zach O'Sullivan and Nick Cassidy are the next cars behind. And for once the Domes have been off the pace compared to what we've seen from them in other rounds. Reliability has been their Achilles heel so far this season. The upgrade window opens after this round, which will give the team managers a chance to improve their cars on the basis of the brake horsepower and reliability. And Stoffel van Dorn's got through on Nick de Vries for P7. And further back we've seen what looks like an overtake from Jess Hawkins on Luke Browning for 16th place. Paul Aron right behind Browning. Behind Aron is the Coloni of Toby Sowry, and it's Matteo Corelli in P20 in the LaRose and Robin Frines in the Sack Speed in 21st place, who is under a 30-second time penalty and a back of the grid drop for the next round in Pärnu. Jake Dennis in P1, Pato Ward second. Dennis has got the fastest up of the race so far. It's a long way to go yet in this race. You can see O'Ward, who looks like he was taking a slightly different line to what Jake Dennis was doing there. Just keeping an eye out on how the car is going through the corners. Goes through turn number 8. He's over 2 seconds back from Dennis, who is continuing to dominate proceedings. And here's Callum Ilott in P3, race winner at Montjuic Park. If he was to come away with a podium finish today, he'll become the first driver in Grand Prix Series history to be on the podium in 5 consecutive rounds. Further back here is Alexander Rossi trying to find a way through on Kimi Antonelli for 11th place. Real have not had too much to celebrate this season. 12 points to their total. At least they're better off than what they were this time last season, where I think in the first 10 rounds they had accumulated only 2 points. Here's Alex Palou at the back of the field in 23rd, but at least he's got some clear air to close down on Sarah Moore. And behind him are Dennis Hauger and Max Gunter, having putting another second and a half back. So at least they're in their own battle towards that end of the field. And we see Nick de Vries, who's in 8th position in the Andretti, who are aiming for an improvement here. They were solid last time out at the Nürburgring. 5th and 7th was what they came away with. And Alexander Rossi is out of his first race for Real. He's come to a slowdown, and that's a really disappointing sight for team manager Ed Hunter. Rossi, he was drafted in place of Samperd, has only made it as far as lap number 8. He is the first retirement of the Lead 2 Istanbul Grand Prix. And it's the end of the day's work for him. And now we are watching Paul Aron behind the 40 of Luke Browning. And he's going to go for it, and that's 16th place going in the way of the Estonian. And behind Browning, we just saw an overtake actually from Toby Surrey getting through on Matteo Caroli. And Callum Eilert has just been overtaken by what looks like Louis Foster. And Jury already got through on Eilert. Foster went for the move, but contact was made, and Foster managed to find a way through. Now, what will the stewards make on that? We'll see what they interpret. And if anyone's going to pick up a penalty, it's probably going to be Louis Foster. And it is a 10-second time penalty for causing a collision. And Foster, wherever he finishes, 10 seconds will be applied to his time. It's not what Prima needed at this stage of the race. They've done well in their first campaign under the eyes of team manager Alex Johnston. They have scored points in every single race as well. What a job Alex Johnston has done after the disappointment last season for Midlands that saw them go down and fold from the Grand Prix Series. Johnston switched teams to Prema, and what a job he has done with them so far. We're looking at Stoffel van Dorn, who is behind Rira Hirakawa at 4th position. As they head down towards the kink of turn 11. Should see an overtake from Van Dorn on Hirakawa for P6. Up the inside goes Stoffel van Dorn, and that's a change for position. The Saxby getting through on the Carlin, and into the top 6 goes the Belgian. And Miata retires yet again in the Dome from 9th position. It's been a very disappointing season for Ritomo Miata. That's his 5th retirement in a row, would you believe? Engine switched off, and that is one of the Domes out. Not a pleasing sight at all for team manager David Yunt. I did say before that reliability has been their Achilles heel this season, and there is another example. Miata, the second driver, out of the race. At least that will promote Alex Palou up a position. Jones's chances of promotion are slipping further and further away. They have won in the Grand Prix Series before, courtesy of Kamiya Sato in Fuji last season. This season they've yet to pick up a win. And we look at Sarah Moore, who locks up into turn number 4 by the looks of it. Alex Palou is running about 14 seconds behind her. We go back to Eilert, who's in 5th place. Looking at Robin Frines, who's in front of Matteo Caroli and Sarah Moore. And just ahead of him is Toby Sowry getting through on Luke Browning. That's for 16th position. Sowry finding a way past. And we are looking at Pato Ward, who's continuing to drop back from Jake Dennis. 4.5 seconds the margin at sector 2. Matteo Caroli on the rear of Robin Frines. Hoping for a clean overtake. Frines does have that 30-second time penalty hanging over him. Go back to Dennis. Doing a super job so far. Andretti were to come away with a win. And an 8th place finish for De Vries. Getting the point for the fastest lap as it stands. There'll be 30 championship points coming in their way. And they'll go in front of Ram into 3rd position and into the promotion places. And it looks like Saxby, Dome, Colonia and Co are just falling further and further back. It's looking increasingly likely it's going to be 3 from 4. They'll be heading up to League One next season. And De Vries is running in P7, just to correct you, because he's now in front of Ryo Hirakawa. Hirakawa's got a bit of a gap between him and Colton Herter, so he won't want to fight too much with De Vries. You see Najiri and Foster. Will they play the team game here, these two? They've done remarkably well to get to where they are as a pairing. You never know, they could well both be fighting for the Drivers' Championship towards the business end of the season. And we go back to Dennis, who's now 5 seconds clear on lap 12. We've got the League One race to come later on. The top 3 teams in League 2 in the Teams Championship will be promoted to League 1. And the bottom 3 teams in League 1 will head down the other way to League 2 for Season 5. And we're seeing Louis Foster going through on Tomoki Najiri. That move had been coming all along. And that is Foster through into 3rd place. Go after Pato Award for position before the pit stops arrive. We see Jess Hawkins sending one up the inside of Jack Doohan, and that is P13 going in the way of the Brit, who's had an impressive season so far, as Jess, and she is gunning for more points today. Dennis in the lead, and Louis Foster has come into the pits at the end of lap 12, and so has Stoffel van Don. They're both in. Now we've got a good chance of coming out in some clean air, which will be what Louis Foster wants. Paul Awan coming in the Tolman. Foster falls out at the top 15. It won't be too long before he comes back out. Now he was 6 seconds behind the leader, was Louis Foster, before he came in. Having Pauline coming in for her first scheduled stop. It's unlikely she's going to be coming away with anything today. And further back, De Vries on the tail of Callum Ilott. And he's going through up to 4th position. I think both of the Carlins are on 1 stops here. And we go back to Pato O'Ward. Will any of the leaders be coming in at the end of this lap? It wouldn't surprise me if Jake Dennis was to do so. Sarah Moore has dropped down a position at the expense of Louis Foster, who's come out of the pits. And Colton Herter, in his first race back for Dams, is out of the race. It's a terrible shame after a good qualifying and a good race up until this point. He parks up in the same place as where Ritomo Miata had pulled off earlier. Casualty number 3, Colton Herter retires from the Lead 2 Istanbul Park Grand Prix. And we've got Nick Cassidy in the pits in the sole surviving dome. There is a chance he'll score points today. The fact that we've already got 3 retirements, there is a chance he'll snatch something, but it won't be anything major. And we'll see Luke Browning, who's been overtaken by Louis Foster, who's wasting no time making amends and getting through on Sacco Sullivan. Oh, that's Luke Browning, my apologies. Browning being overtaken by Foster. And going to the other Prima, who's behind the only Dams left in the race now, Pato O'Ward. Nigiri tucked up into the slipstream as they go through the kink of turn 11. Will he send one to the inside at turn 12? He's probably too far back to do it from there. We've cut away to Louis Foster, who should make light work of the LaRousse of Matteo Caroli, and that is him through into 13th. Will the 2-stop be the strategy to go around Istanbul today? And Aaron finding his way through on... That's Max Gunter that he's just got through into 20th. And we go back to Nigiri, all over the back of O'Ward, tucked up behind. You can see how competitive the Prima really is today. Jess Hawkins and Toby Surrey come in at the end of lap 14. And that will allow Louis Foster to move up another position and close in on Robin Frines ahead. There's Dennis in the lead still, pushing as hard as he can to pull away from the rest before he comes in. We expect him to be on the 2-stop, judging by the pace that he has been setting on his first stint. Further back, Tomoki Nijiri making a move on Pato O'Ward at last at turn number 9, and that is the Japanese through into 2nd place. And it underlines how consistent the Prima team have been this season. Hungry for success, and if they do go up this season, they thoroughly deserve to be. Van Dorn heading past Sarah Moore for what will be 14th. And now we go back to Dennis as Nigiri comes in, but Alex Below won't be making it to the pit lane, and neither will he make it to the checkered flag. Engine fire for him, and it's another retirement and a bad dent to his championship. That is just 1 point in the last 3 races, and that was not from a race finishing position. That was a fast start point which he got at Nürburgring last time out. It's unlikely that Alex Palou is going to be leaving Istanbul Park as the Lead 2 Drivers' Championship leader. As it stands with the way things are going, because Ilott's got 2 second places to Palou's 1, they both have the same number of wins, and with Ilott getting the point for pole position earlier, he will move into the lead if things stand. We know for certain now that Alex Palou will not be the championship leader, because he'll not be ahead of Callum Ilott on countback. There we see Ilott in third place, in front of Hirakawa. It's Antonelli, Dewan, and Foster, who's up to P7 now. Najiri getting through on Caroli for 8th. And Jake Dennis is in from the race lead now. I think if there's a time for him to come in, the time is now. O'Ward goes through, and we expect Ilott and Hirakawa to head past. There is Jack Dewan, who is the only Ram left in the race. They are in need of some form at the moment. They are beginning to fall away, our Ram, in terms of performance. They need to be scoring points. I can tell you that Dennis has completed his stop, and Sarah Moore is the next driver to retire. She's well out of the way of the field. She's gone off on the exit of turn 11, and that's another retirement for the Surtees squad. And Matteo Caroli is into the pits for LaRousse. Moore retires again, and that's no points for her. Just 1 point finished so far this season. That came at Indianapolis. And Van Dorn being overtaken by De Vries. And that is enough for the Andretti to head through. And crucially for Dennis, he's in front of Louis Foster, who's behind Jack Dewan. You see Robin Fiennes locking up. Keeping the car points in the right way. See Ilott in second position on track. Looks like he's going to be doing the one stop. De Vries gets through, as does Van Dorn at the same time on Luke Browning. That's a nice double overtake there we've just seen. Although Browning won't like to see the back of that. Prix and Van Dorn heading through, both of which have stopped. Luke Browning hasn't yet. But Pato Ward in P1, 5 seconds clear over Callum Ilott. He's less than the second clear of Rio Hirakawa. Browning on the inside of Van Dorn, just about avoiding contact at turn number 12. Otherwise that could have ended in a similar way to what happened with Robin Fiennes, who picked up that penalty earlier. And Tommy Najiri with a new fastest up of the race, with 1 minute 36.8. He takes that away from Jake Dennis. We've got a driver in the pit lane as well now. 5 drivers out of the race so far. Sarah Moore, Alex Blow, Colton Herter, Matteo Miata, and Alexander Rossi. Jack Dewan's just come into the pits. He was running in the points. He's now outside the top 15. 2 Collins, second and third. And Paul Aron locks up in front of Toby Serreri. Kimi Antonelli's been going well in this one. In 4th place in the Coloni. He's 3 seconds clear over Jake Dennis, who is already pitted. Front, O'Ward continuing. Oh, he's broken his front wing, and in fact he's out. Front suspension failure for Pato O'Ward. It looks like he had hit the curb, but no, it's far worse than that. The front left suspension has given way, and Dams' race is finished. Into the lead goes Callum Ilott. Into second place goes Rio Hirakawa. Pato O'Ward is out of the Lead 2 Istanbul Grand Prix. It had been Dams' best race so far, but it's near par for Phil Kinch. So Carlin 1-2 now. Kimi Antonelli is in 3rd place ahead of Jake Dennis. Louis Foster is 6.5 seconds behind the Andretti. Sacco Sullivan in the 40, behind Luke Browning. Now Browning, who had won at Indianapolis earlier in the season, that's pretty much been 40's highlight of the season so far. They've not had a lot go their way since. There is a chance for both drivers to get a points finish out of this one. Hirakawa 1.2 seconds behind Ilott as they head down the hill towards turn 11. Kimi Antonelli is 0.4 of a second clear of Dennis. And we see Antonelli and Dennis heading through turn 12. No way through yet for Dennis, but he'll want to dispose Antonelli rather quickly. He might be able to do so on the pit straight if he's feeling lucky. We go back to Ryo Hirakawa. Doing his best to stay in touch as Dennis gets through on Antonelli into turn 1. That should be a position change, and it is so. Dennis through at last, but he has lost time, being stuck behind Antonelli. Next two drivers for Dennis are the two Carlins, who are going for 2 1-2 finishes in a row. Something that hasn't been achieved in the Grand Prix series before. And there's Luke Browning and Sacco Sullivan going into combat. Back with Ilott, going for his 3rd Grand Prix series win. No team in the Grand Prix series has won has managed to achieve 2 1-2 finishes in a row. Can Carlin become the first team to do that today? And here we see Jake Dennis pulling away from Kimi Antonelli. He's doing a fine job so far. He'll obviously be lighter on fuel compared to Dennis. Matteo Caroli in 18th. See a move from Jack Doohan on Max Gunter for 16th position. And Antonelli pits in from 4th place at the end of lap 20. We expect him to go to the end of the race. Won't fall out of the top 15, but let's see if he actually gets out in front of Toby Surrey, maybe. You need at least 25 seconds for a pit stop round Istanbul Park. And in fact, Antonelli is behind Surrey for position. Antonelli will be on the fresher rubber. I think if Cologne have got any chance of a strong result today, it may be best for Surrey to let Antonelli go through. Will we see either of the Carlins at the end of the cycle? I think we will see one of them. We don't know who it will be. There's Jake Dennis closing down on him. Closing down on them, I should say. And Jess Hawkins, who's about to get a move done on Luke Browning for 10th position. And that's enough for the Surtees to get through. Hawkins has already stopped in this race, and she wasn't going to hang around there. Ilott carries on. Hirakawa pits in from P2. There's Dennis Hauger, who's got Matteo Caroli for company. It's Abby Pullen, my apologies. It's been another low-key race for both Tolman and LaRousse. Because League 2 is the bottom league of the Grand Prix Series, no one gets relegated from this division. They'll be hoping for better luck next season when Season 5 comes around, which its calendar has been revealed. And Max Gunther is coming in, and an engine problem for Nick Cassidy, and it's going to be another double non-finish for David Young's team. It goes from bad to worse, and that could well realistically end their hopes of promotion, because if they continue with these reliability issues, there's no chance of them being in League One. And Cassidy just needs to pull off to the side of the circuit without becoming such a smokescreen to the drivers. And the Colonies get through eventually. Antonelli's behind Sorry, which he'll want to get by very shortly. And Paul Aron will make his way through. And Cassidy will want to try and get that car back to the pit lane, but I don't think he will do. Car behind Cassidy is Robin Frines. And now you can see the engine's expired, and he's actually going to pull off in the same location as where his teammate Rotoma Miata had pulled off earlier. You really couldn't have written it. And Luke Browning has come into the pits for his only stop of the race, whilst I say that. That is another driver gone from the race, and both of the domes are out. And no points for the team. Louis Foster in third place. He's going after Jake Dennis. The gap between them is 7.2 seconds. And Rio Hirakawa, after his stop, is in 7th position ahead of Sacco Sullivan. And he's going after Stoffel van Don. This could be Hirakawa's chance to take the lead from Callum Ilott once Ilott heads for the pits. And if there's a time for Ilott to pit in, now is probably the lap to do it. But I think is he going to come in this lap? No, he's staying out for another lap, is Ilott. And he's got Jake Dennis closing him down all the time. It won't be too long before Jake Dennis pits in again. This is going to make for a really interesting finish to the League 2 Istanbul Grand Prix. Season 4 of the Grand Prix Series. Now, can Dennis find a way through on Ilott? It's important that he does so. You see the gap is 1.4 seconds. Is he finding enough time? It's now down to 1.2 in sector 1. We see Louis Foster, who, remember, has got a 10-second time penalty for the collision he caused earlier at turn 12 when he came together with Callum Ilott. And there is Max Gunther running in 19th, locking up at the last turn, but no major drama there. Heading over the line is Gunther. He'll just be hoping to get the car to the end. It's unlikely he'll be coming away with any points. We've seen a battle for 16th position as Dennis Hauger locks up in front of Luke Browning, who's just pitted. And Ilott will be in the pits, I'd have thought, at the end of the lap. And he hasn't quite done so yet. But he is in now, is Ilott. So Dennis takes over the race lead. Foster goes through into second. Nijiri goes through into third. De Vries will go through as well. Browning getting through on Dennis Hauger into turn 9. 20 laps to go here at Istanbul. And Ilott's pit stop has got him out in front of Rio Hirakawa, albeit briefly, because Hirakawa has completed an undercut on him. So by staying out, Ilot's missed out, but he'll be on fresher tyres to his teammate. It'll be interesting to see whether Ilot does actually take the fight to his Japanese rival. He got the strategy wrong at Nürburgring. I hope he hasn't made the same mistake here. It's a track where you can definitely get overtakes done at. Here's Foster in P2. I want to see how close Ilot is to Hirakawa, because I can imagine he's going to be all over the back of him through Sector 2. Now, how far is he back? He's right behind Hirakawa. Is Ilot. Now, does Ilot go through on Hirakawa at turn 12? I don't think he did. But we want to go to that battle. There it is. Ilot behind Hirakawa. Ilot not able to find a way through. He'll be regretting not pitting in a lap sooner. And there is Louis Foster. Kimi Antonelli locking up in front of his teammate. And does Toby Surrey go through at turn 1? It looks like he's about to. And that's him through. And Antonelli has dropped back. So Antonelli's mistake there has allowed his teammate to go by. See the two Primus are on the 2-stop. It won't be too long before they pit in. Now, can they maybe complete an undercut on Jake Dennis? Now, it wasn't long before... Well, it's not long since the two Carlins have pitted. More recently, Ilot. So the Primus will want to try and go as long as they can. Ilot's got through on Hirakawa for 6th place. So that could be for the net race lead later on. Ilot through into 6th position. Behind what is Tomoki Nijiri is Nick de Vries, because Louis Foster has come in for the last time. In regards to clean air, probably get out behind Robin Frines. Foster. Does he get out in front of Toby Surrey? He does get out in front of him in 9th place. And Foster still has that 10-second time penalty hanging over him. If he can make his way through on the likes of Hawkins, who will be due in again. O'Sullivan will be in the pits again. I'll be pulling coming in for the last time in this race. And it won't be too long before we see Jake Dennis come in for his last stop. The Brit through turns 12, 13 and 14. It's the pit straight. So Verline took his maiden Grand Prix Series win in the League 2 Istanbul Grand Prix last season. We've got Najiri in the pits now for Prima, and De Vries in at the same time. Does Van Dorn decide to come in as well, or does he remain out there for another lap? He remains out there for another lap, but he's got the two Carlins closing him down, of Ilot and Hirakawa. Now, I would expect Najiri to fall behind Louis Foster once he comes back out. Foster is ahead of Najiri. So the drivers who are due in again before this race is over, looking at the top end, are Dennis Van Dorn, Hawkins, Aaron and Fines. Those in the top 10 anyway. With the way the times are coming down, Dennis and Van Dorn... Well, Dennis will rejoin behind Ilott and Hirakawa, but how far back will he be? And there we see the 40 of Sacco Sullivan, who's behind Jack Doohan. Louis Foster getting through on Jess Hawkins for 5th place on track. Another position gained for him. He's on form today. And Ilott will be all over the back of Stoffel Van Dorn as they come towards turn number 12. Goes for it, does Callum Ilott. Will they get through safely? No, they won't. Contact made, and Ilott, I can imagine, will be hit with a penalty for punting Van Dorn off and gaining the position as a consequence. That was avoidable from Ilott's part. Too impatient. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if the stewards hand him a time penalty for that. That'll hurt his chances of a win and maybe even a podium. A 10-second time penalty for Callum Ilott for causing a collision. And that might help Jake Dennis's cause as well. Well, Ilott is in front of Van Dorn, and it won't be too long before Hirakawa follows suit. Aaron and Hawkins are in the pits now. What will this mean for the remainder of the race? See Van Dorn. He's got a chance of a podium finish now because Ilott has that penalty and Louis Foster also has a penalty. And there is Dennis, who is due in the pits before this race is over. We've seen the jury locking up into turn number 8. Now he's behind Louis Foster. He's gone in for another strong result today. Hirakawa should be able to make his way through on Van Dorn sooner rather than later. We see Ilott in P2. It's Van Dorn and Hirakawa next. And Dennis has remained out there, interestingly. And Van Dorn finally pits in from 3rd place. He'll fall out of the top 10. At least he'll be on fresher tyres compared to a lot of the others. And Van Dorn, does he get out? He'll get out in front of Sacco Sullivan, no problem. Van Dorn rejoins inside the top 10. He's got some overtaking to do with 15 laps remaining here in Turkey. Host of the Formula 1 Turkish Grand Prix on 9 occasions. The most recent event was in 2021, which was won by Valtteri Bottas for Mercedes in that wet race back then. There is Doohan, who's ahead of Van Dorn. And Jake Dennis is in from the race lead. Now, Ilott will take over. It'll be Hirakawa. In fact, Ilott's pulled off! He's out! Callum Ilott retires from the lead to Istanbul Grand Prix. He looked destined for another podium at least, but his run of 4 consecutive podiums has ended here today. A twist in the title race. And Jake Dennis, after the stop, is in the lead still, ahead of Ryo Hirakawa. It's all fallen into place for Andretti today. But for Callum Ilott, what must he be thinking? And team manager Perry Brown. See Louis Foster in third place on track. With the time penalty he's got, he'll lose that podium position to his teammate Tomiki Najiri, who, as it stands, will move into the lead of the championship. You can see a battle on circuit involving... Just trying to see who that was for a moment. I think it was Van Dorn and... Or was it Friends and Caroli? I think it was Friends and Caroli who we just saw for a brief moment. So Friends came out of the pits in front of Caroli. Well, looking at the updated times now, in fact, Foster would lose 2 positions as it stands, unless he can get on with it. So if he can get on with it and go after Ryo Hirakawa, that will help minimise the damage. But Tomiki Najiri is in third place with the penalty applied for Foster. And with Najiri getting the point for fast lap as well, we'll move him on to 91 points. Ryo Hirakawa, by finishing second, will move on to 81. Jake Dennis, by picking up a win today, will move him on to 62. He'll go up to 5th place in the Drivers' Championship. It's certainly game on in the League 2 Drivers' Championship. In regards to the team standings, it's not going to be plain sailing for Carlin today. See Jack Doohan fending off Topher Van Dorn for P7. Kramer on course. With the way things are going, Foster will get 10 points with the penalty. That's going to be given to him. Najiri will get 15, plus the point for the fastest lap. Kramer will move on to 154, and Carlin are on 164. So the gap will come down to just 10 points. Between those two, Ram will fall further back, and Andretti, with the way things are going, are going to be moving up into the promotion places, and Jake Dennis has posted a knee fastest lap, taking that away from Tomiki Najiri. De Vries is in 5th place, will make that 4th, which will give Andretti a total of 37 points, moving them on to 137. Ram will go down to 4th place on 126. There we see Ryo Hirakawa ahead of Louis Foster and Tomiki Najiri. And there is Dennis, who's already won earlier in the campaign at Zolder. He missed a round at Indianapolis after taking out another driver at Buenos Aires the round before. And we see Zach O'Sullivan all over the back of Jack Doohan. It's not getting any better for Ram right now, but Doohan is on course for his first points in the Grand Prix Series. Now see the 40 go through here. O'Sullivan up the inside of Doohan, and 8th place goes in the way of the Brit. And there goes O'Sullivan. And next behind Doohan is the Surtees of Jess Hawkins. It's very much game on. Still 11 laps to go. There's still time for things to change in this race. And the gap between Hirakawa... Oh! I say that! Louis Foster's engine has gone up in smoke! Louis Foster is going to be out of the race! Prima will not be coming away as leaders of the team's championship because Foster's engine has gone up in smoke and the time penalty is no longer relevant now. No, just needs to be careful because he's got De Vries behind and De Vries stays out of the way, thankfully. And Foster pulls off and it's no points for him. That promotes Antonelli up to 5th, Van Dorn, O'Sullivan, Dewin, Hawkins and Surrey now up into the points. Paul Aron just behind as well. He's not too far away from a points finish as well. Luke Browning, Robin Frines, Matteo Caroli, Dennis Hauger and Abby Pullin will also move up. And there goes the Prima over the wall. And Foster's race is over. Max Gunther also moved up position into 15th. So we've just got 17 left in the race now. 9 drivers out. We've got 10 laps remaining. Between Dennis and Hirakawa is over 10 seconds. Dennis can just breathe easy here. He knows the victory is in sight now for Andretti. It'll be their 3rd win of the campaign. De Vries won at Hakara Pagua. Dennis won in Zolder. And the Brit is about to do it again here in Istanbul. We see the car in of Rio Hirakawa, who is going to be under threat from Tomoki Najiri shortly. And we see Jess Hawkins on the tail of Jack Doohan, and another position gained for Hawkins. 8th position for her. Doohan down to 9th. With the way things going, he may even struggle to stay in the points, Jack Doohan. The gap between Hirakawa and Najiri is 1.5 seconds. And Toby Surrey locking up into turn 13. And he carries on as he's doing, going after Doohan. Hirakawa in P2. 1.2 seconds the margin. Gap coming down by 0.3 in sector 1. And the Carlin and the Prima nose to tail around this Istanbul Park course. First opened way back in 2005. The gap coming down to just 1 second now. Najiri taking half a second out of Hirakawa on this lap alone so far. Jake Dennis is 8 laps away from his 2nd Grand Prix World Series win. He raced before for Andrea Moda in Season 3. Driver carrying a penalty now in this race is Robin Frines. He will drop to 17th and last place. This time has been added. You see Najiri all over the back of Hirakawa now. He's not far away for a lunge on his compatriot. he close enough to have a go? Tom Cairns, the answer is not yet. But if he can get a good run out of turn 10, he may be able to send it into turn 12. Coming through the kink. Hirakawa is able to hold on. And the Mugello race winner right on his tail. And Matteo Caroli is crawling to a halt in the LaRousse. He pulls off at turn 8 with a problem. And he retires from the race. It's been a really disappointing season for team manager Chris Hosey. Will he decide to make any changes in the forthcoming round in Parnu? There is Dennis. There is Hirakawa, who's got Nijiri behind. And Caroli is out of the race with gearbox issues. Not long left to go in the race, 7 to go. Don't need me to tell you the gap between Hirakawa and Nijiri. They are nose to tail, but I think Nijiri is going to get a run on the Carlin this time. Tomoki Nijiri in the Prima sends one up the inside, and Nijiri finds his way through up into second place. That move was coming all along, and Nijiri is finally through and puts the Japanese further clear in the championship with the way things are going right now. He won't have time to catch Dennis. He'll take a second place after all. And there is Toby Surrey on the tail of Jack Doohan. It's been another disappointing race for Ram today. Hello getting caught up in some first lap shenanigans which forced him into the pits, and he retired with a blown engine later on. Looking at the positions on screen, Nijiri now just settle down, pull away from Hirakawa, and Hirakawa will be worried of Nick de Vries in the closing stages. De Vries is less than 5 seconds behind. He's not going to have a lot of time, here's de Vries, to catch Hirakawa. We'll see how he gets on from here. And 2 drivers locked in combat as well are Doohan and Surrey for 9th position. We'll want to be going to that battle. This is Stoff Van Don attempting to get by Kimi Antonelli, and his attempt has paid off, and the sack speed goes back up into P5. It's been a stellar race from Stoff Van Don, sitting nicely in the top 10 in the standings. As it stands, he won't move up in the table. Well, I'll tell you something now. Ryo Hirakawa's engine has expired in the Carlin. Neither of the two are going to be going to the checkered flag. Neither will be standing on the podium. Neither of them will be coming away with a victory. Just the pole position point for Kalamila is all they're going to get. Ryo Hirakawa retires. And it's a body blow to the team's hopes in the team's championship. Now he just needs to be careful he doesn't take out de Vries, which he doesn't do so. Hirakawa will be pulling off with 5 laps remaining, and it's the end of the day for Perry Brown. Huge contrast to the last round at the Nürburgring. It is such a terrible shame. Van Dorn goes up to 4th now. Antonelli 5th. O'Sullivan, Hawkins, Doohan, Surrey and Paul Aron up into the points. And there is Surrey behind, doing in the fight for his 8th place now. Finds on the fringes of the points, but he's got that 30-second time penalty for a collision which had caused... Oh, and there's another retirement. It's Zach O'Sullivan. Rear suspension failure on the 40. 6th place gone for Dave Goddard's team. And the team needed those points to keep their slim hopes of promotion alive for a return to League One. But O'Sullivan is the next to retire from the race. Got 14 left in the race now. And Jess Hawkins goes up to 6th position. And I believe that will be her best result in the Grand Prix World Series. It will be her best result. Doohan and Surrey up to 7th and 8th. Aaron 9th and finds in the points on track. But he'll lose that thanks to his penalty, which will allow Luke Browning to pick up that last point for 40. Jake Dennis, 17 seconds clear now, begging that no mechanical gremlins deprive him of the race win here. And De Vries on the podium as well. It'll be the first time that both of the Andrettis are on the podium. 41 championship points coming in the way of them. And with the team's championship as it is, Carlin will be on 147 due to Ilotz's pole position point. Kramer, with Nigerian 2nd place, will go on to 146. And Andretti, with a win and 3rd position, will go on to 141. 6 points separating the top 3 teams after the first 9 races. Ram will drop down to 4th on 128. There is De Vries, and I think we're looking at Tommy Kinijiri in 2nd position, who's got 6.5 seconds in hand over De Vries. Dennis is about to start the penultimate lap in a moment. It's been a stellar race. It's still not done yet. Freeze. Nosing down all the time, doing his best to go after Tommy Kinijiri. Gap was less than 6 seconds over the line. And it's 5.5. Or 6.5, I should say. And Toby Surrey is still behind Jack Doohan. Now, Dennis will be hoping that the same doesn't happen to him as it did for Nick Cassidy at Dijon-Bourgogne, where Cassidy's front suspension gave way with 3 corners to go, and Matt Campbell inherited the win. And Robin finds his time penalty. At the moment, will drop him to 14th behind Dennis Hauger. Although it would be very close between those two, so Fiennes may be able to edge out the gap and not drop to 14th. And there is Jake Dennis. Races back on track is between Doohan and Sori, but I think Doohan's pulled out a margin on the Brit to remain in front until the end. Jake Dennis has started the last lap of the race, and there he is through turn number 3. It's not had to work too hard, but thanks to misfortunes of others, he's able to just sprint clear once he completed his final stop. And he's going to take the win very, very comfortably. What a race by his standards. It's been a monstrous day for Andretti, an important one to get their championship hopes back on track. And with Carlin not scoring big, Prima not scoring as highly as expected, they needed a day like this to overturn their fortunes, and today they've done it. Jake Dennis has just got 3 more corners to get through now, and the checker flag will be in sight for his 2nd win of the season, and Andretti's 3rd in only their 9th Grand Prix World Series outing. Jake Dennis exits the last corner and heads down the pit straight as the winner of the Lead 2 Istanbul Grand Prix. What a race for Andretti, what a race for team manager Linus O'Hal. It's not only going to be a race win, but a double podium. Tomoki Najiri picks up another podium for himself and for Prima. 2nd place for him. He now leads the Lead 2 Drivers' Championship. Nick de Vries returns to the podium for the first time in a long time. His first podium since he had won at Hikara Pagua in the opening round. Stoffel van Dorn 4th in the Zach Speed, ahead of Kimi Antonelli, who returns to form in 5th. In 6th place, much to the delight of team manager Jake Sanson, it is Jess Hawkins. What a race for her. That's her best result in her Grand Prix World Series career. Jack Doohan, 1st points for him in 7th. The same for Toby Suri. Paul Aron 9th. A couple of points for him. Robin Fines' penalty will drop him back. Luke Browning takes the last point for 40 in 10th place. Max Gunter will be 11th. And then it'll be Abby Pullin, Dennis Hauger. And once the time penalty will be applied, Robin Fines will be the last finisher in 14th position. But it's a win for the Andretti of Jake Dennis at Istanbul Park in Turkey in League 2. Tomoki Najiri's 2nd, Nick de Vries in 3rd place, running off a remarkable day for Andretti. Stoffel van Dorn 4th, ahead of Kimi Antonelli. Good points for the Coloni team in 5th. Jess Hawkins 6th for Surtees, ahead of Jack Doohan. Toby Suri picking up his first Grand Prix World Series points in 8th. Paul Aron 9th for Tolman, a couple of points for the team, which is what they needed. Luke Browning, the last points finisher in 10th. Max Gunter 11th, followed by Abby Pullin and Dennis Hauger. Robin Fines, with his time penalty, drops him to 14th. Ryu Hirakawa and Sako Sullivan classified in 15th and 16th places, even though they didn't take the checkered flag. Matteo Caroli, Louis Foster, Callum Ilott, who should have come away with the victory today had it not been for gearbox trouble. He also retired along with Nick Cassidy, Pato Award, Sarah Moore, Alex Palou, Colton Herter, Rito Miata and Alexander Rossi were the rest to not finish. The pole position point went to Callum Ilott and the fast lap point went to today's race winner, Jake Dennis. One race down, one race to go here at Istanbul Park. It's a return to winning ways for Andretti and for Jake Dennis. That has given them more of a realistic chance of promotion and in the team's championship. For Tomoki Najiri, thanks to his 2nd place finish, he is the new championship leader in League 2. It's time to run down on the League 2 championship standings, both in the drivers and in the teams, in the voice of Topher Smith, and we'll be back for the League 1 race very, very shortly.
Well, what an enthralling race here in Istanbul to kick off proceedings. League 2 delivers once again with an absolute disaster for the top 2 in the championship, Alex Palou and Callum Ilott, with Jake Dennis taking his 2nd win of the season and Tomoki Najiri picking up yet another podium. What has this race done to the League 2 driver standings? Let's take a quick look. Tomoki Najiri has moved into the lead of the championship on 93 points. 9 ahead of Callum Ilott and Alex Palou, now tied on 84 each. Jake Dennis, with his second win, has moved up to 4th, equal on points with Hirakawa, but ahead on countback. Nick de Vries in the second Andretti on 60 points, ahead of Kimi Antonelli, Stoffel Van Dorn, Matt Campbell, and Nick Cassidy rounding out the top 10. While in the team standings, Carlin still leads the way on 147, but only 1 ahead of Pramac, Callum Ilott's pole position point, helping them stay ahead of Alex Johnston's squad. Andretti, with his double podium today, moves up to 3rd on 141, overtaking Ram, who were leading the championship not too long ago, but now down to 4th on 128. Zach Speed of 5th on 78, head of Coloni on 69, Dome on 66, 40 Corsi on 54, Dams on 48, and Surtees in 10th on 28. While Rial, LaRousse, and Tolman still in the bottom 3 places. Tolman picking up a couple of extra points today, but still languishing in 13th place. Now, earlier on, we brought you the mid-season results for the League 2 teams. League 1 was also in action following the Nürburgring Grand Prix, and let's waste no time in showing you what the results of those were. Once again, it's over to Tom Cairns to take you through all of what happened.
The League 1 teams took their turn for the mid-season test at the Nürburgring, with Yiffy Yi putting Leighton House top of the order with a 1 minute 24.222 seconds, a time that would put him 5th on the grid and ahead of Joseph Newgarden in the Grand Prix. Kyle Kirkwood came out on top over René Rast in an arrows battle that was effectively a shootout to replace Oliver Rowland for the rest of the season, while Marco Wittmann in the Prost showed that he still has the potential to be competitive in the Grand Prix World Series. Kyffin Simpson put both Leighton Houses into the top 5, ahead of Christopher Bell, the NASCAR driver doing well enough to earn himself a promotion to a race seat with John Munro's HRT team. Zach Veach surprised with a strong run to P7 in the Force India, while Pascal Wehrlein got some practice in ahead of his substitute appearance in Istanbul, the German going 9th fastest. League 1's only female tester and the only female race winner in the Grand Prix World Series, Tatiana Calderon, ended slower than Mick Schumacher, with the latter keeping his role as reserve driver. Further down the order, Mirko Bortolotti had his first run of the season, having lost his drive at the end of Season 3, and went 15th fastest, while Lawrence Vantor went 3/10 quicker than his brother Dries, and was duly rewarded with a race seat at Onyx for the next race onwards. Grand Prix World Series race winner Jose Maria Lopez was narrowly beaten by Manor rookie Christian Mansell, but kept his role as reserve driver at Sam Hall's squad, while Shanok Nisani, rather expectedly, lapped well off the pace in Will Knight's BAR, ending the session over 3 seconds slower than the benchmark set by Yiffy Yi.
Thank you very much, Tom. Now, there were a few driver changes that came out of the mid-season test for the League 1 teams, but before we go through those, let's remind ourselves of what the championship standings look like heading into today. Starting off with the drivers, and it is Sebastian Buemi in the Prost who leads the way on 85, 10 ahead of Felix Rosenqvist in the Arrows. Earl Bamber and Joseph Newgarden put both Leighton Houses into the top 4 on 62 and 58 points each. Scott McLaughlin, not a race winner yet this season, but 5th in the championship on 57 points through consistent point scoring. Mahavira Kunathan is a race winner this season, but is scoring inconsistently and is only on 52 points in 6th place. Two-time reigning champion Scott Dixon, not having the best season so far on 46, ahead of Jean-Eric Verne, Raffaele Marcello and Oliver Behrman, the Simtech rounding out the top 10. And in the teams, Prost leads the way on 127 points, 7 ahead of Leighton House, who are a further 17 ahead of Arrows. It looks like it will be between those 3 teams for the title this season, but don't count anyone out just yet. BAR on 78, 1 ahead of Minardi on 77, HRT on 71, Simtech on 70, and then Force India, Onyx and Manor rounding out the top 10. And currently in the relegation zone, at risk of going down to League 2 for next season, Formital, Pacific Grand Prix and Mastercard Lola on 27, 21 and 18 points respectively. Now to take you through the driver changes heading into today's League 1 race. The first of those not as a direct result of the mid-season test, but more due to the fact that Felipe Nasr has been disqualified from this race, and Pascal Wehrlein, the League 2 runner-up last season, he'll make his return to a race seat in his place at Von Mittal. As far as the changes from the mid-season test go, the first of those is at Arrows, where Kyle Kirkwood will make his Grand Prix World Series debut in place of Oliver Rowland, who has performed inconsistently this season, and Arrows hoping to get a bit more consistency out of Kirkwood in the second half of the season. The second of those changes comes at the HRT team, where NASCAR driver Christopher Bell has been given his Grand Prix World Series debut in place of Alexander Sims. HRT having a fine season so far, and Bell did really well in the mid-season test. John Monroe deciding to give the NASCAR driver a go in a single-seater car to see how he gets on. And the final driver change comes at the Onyx team. Ryan Ferris now using his fifth race driver this season. He's already used Dries Van Tor. Now he has put in Lawrence Van Tor, the brother of his previous driver, Dries. And this time he'll be in place of Jules Gounon. So the driver lineup there will be Kevin Estra and Lawrence Van Tor, Ryan Ferris, giving some evaluations to his driver lineup to see who will be in the cars for the rest of the season. And now let's see how all those new drivers got on in qualifying for today's race. And I tell you, this is a close one here. Qualifying was won by Mahavir Raghunathan, 1,000th of a second ahead of Jean-Eric Verne, who was a further 1,000th of a second ahead of Sebastian Buemi, with Earl Bamber and Scott Dixon also within a tenth of the pole time. The top five separated by 0.083 seconds. Such a close qualifying for today's race, and it bodes to be a good race today as well. Nicholas Latifi in the second BAR ahead of Felix Rosenqvist. Pascal Wehrlein on his return going 8th in a Fomital. That's their best qualifying performance of the season so far. Lawrence Van Tor on his debut going into the top 10. Ryan Ferris will be very happy with that performance. And Daniel Kvyat rounding out the top 10 in a Mastercard Lola. Joseph Newgarden 11th in the Leighton House ahead of both Syntex of Kobayashi and Behrman. Giovinazzi, race winner last time out, starting from 14th today ahead of Kevin Estra in the Onyx. Scott McLaughlin, a disappointing qualifying for him in 16th, ahead of Roman Grosjean and Tony Felix da Costa. And then Christopher Bell and Carl Kirkwood, two debutants today, were lining up 19th and 20th. And then at the back, Brendan Hartley, Pietro Fittipaldi, Marcus Ericsson, Shane Van Gisbergen, Raffaele Marcello, and Mitch Evans. All drivers bar Mitch Evans within a second of each other, but Mitch Evans not too far off either, so we'll let him off that one, I think. But I think this is going to be another fantastic race here today. If League 2 is anything to go by, and if qualifying was anything to go by, let's get straight down to trackside where Tom Cairns is ready and waiting to call lights out.
It's pole position for Mahavir Raghunathan. He's already tasted victory this season in Solder. Can he make it 2 here at Istanbul Park? 2 Prost looming in behind, looking to overhaul him. We were looking for the red lights. Ready? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Lights are on. Lights off. Raghunathan leads away at the front. We've got Jean-Eric Verne looking to make amends by getting through. It looks like Buemi's got a little bit bogged down. He's been overtaken by Earl Bamber before the first corner. Buemi losing out then. As a consequence, Bamber goes up into 3rd place. We've got Lawrence Van Tor on his debut in the Grand Prix Series in the Onyx, trying to navigate his way through. But it seems to be a relatively clean start for the field throughout the first couple of corners at least. Raghunathan leads then, as we see contact made, and it looks like the race winner at the Nürburgring, Antonio Giovinazzi, is out of the race already. We'll see who ran into him, and it's the Mastercard Lola that ran into him. That I think it was it Danny Kvyat that ran into him? No, it was Roman Grosjean that ran into the Minardi, and I would imagine that Grosjean will be hit with a race ban. In fact, Giovinazzi's rear wing was already gone by that point, so that caught Grosjean a little bit off guard, and Grosjean came back onto the circuit. But Giovinazzi is out of the race after 3 corners, and I would imagine that Grosjean will be hit with a race ban for taking him out. We'll see what the stewards say on that. But Raghunathan is still in the lead in the BAR with Verne 2nd and Bamber 3rd. Disqualification and a 1 race ban for Roman Grosjean, which is little surprise in the regulations, because if you take out a driver and they retire from the race as a consequence, the driver that caused the collision will get a 1 race ban and a disqualification from the current race. So not only will Grosjean be out of this one, essentially, but he'll be out of the next race at Parnu as well. And there is Pascal Wehrlein making his first appearance in the Grand Prix Series this season. Has got Kamui Kobayashi in the sim set right behind, looking to the outside into turn number 12. And Kobayashi is not able to find his way through ahead of the Fomital. Wehrlein substituting for the suspended Felipe Nasr, who took out Pietro Fittipaldi at the start of the previous round at the Nürburgring. And De Costa looked like he got attacked from behind. Was it the HRT of Alexander Sims that ran into him? I'm not 100% sure. We'll have a look to see. No, it doesn't look like Sims, does it? It was in fact the Fomital of Marcus Ericsson that he collided with, and I don't think any punishment is going to be given to him on the back of that. It's Christopher Bell that went past Marcus Ericsson, just to correct myself. No further action is taken for the contact involving Ericsson and De Costa. Christopher Bell, one of many debutants today. Lawrence Vantor, who is related to Dries Vantor, as far as I'm concerned. Vantor doing a fine job so far. There is Scott McLaughlin locking up at turn number 4 and getting away with it. He's in front of Kyle Kirkwood, who substitutes in for Oliver Rowland in the Arrow squad, who are gunning for both championships this season. Just the one retirement with Antonio Giovinazzi out of the race in the Minardi. His teammate Scott Dixon is running up there in 6th place. Here's Kobayashi on the inside of Pascal Wehrlein into turn number 9. He goes through, and at the same time, Danny Kvyat is trying to find his way through on Felix Rosenqvist, and he's got himself in front. And Kvyat is through, and Rosenqvist is struggling in the Arrows at the moment. And behind him is the Leighton House of Joseph Newgarden, who was off the pace in qualifying. And now we see Kvyat looking to make a move, and Newgarden nearly running into the rear of the Arrows at the same corner. Very lucky not to take him out, otherwise he probably would have been penalised for it. And McGonaughin with the new fast lap of the race so far after 2 laps. And Earl Bamber's got in front of Jean-Luc Vergne for 2nd place. Earl Bamber, who has already won this season in Mugello, is gunning for another win today and get Leighton House's season back on track a little bit. Prost come into this round as leaders in both the drivers and the team's championship. Sebastian Buemi is the drivers' championship leader. Prost are the leaders in the team's championship. But at least both of the Prosts are in the top 4. Vergne in 3rd place, Buemi in 4th. And behind Buemi is Nicholas Latifi, Scott Dixon 6th in the Minardi, Kamui Kobayashi in the Simtek in 7th, Pascal Wehrlein in the Fomital is 8th, Danny Kvyat in the Mars Lola is 9th, and Felix Rosenqvist in the Arrows in 10th. A lot of drama has occurred in the Lead 2 race earlier, with drivers going out when we least expected them to. Danny Kvyat going through on Wehrlein. Newgarden trying to make his way through on Rosenqvist. And further back, it almost looks like Lawrence Vantor attempts to get by Ollie Berman for P12. And there we see Berman slowing down on the back straight. And he is not going to be finishing here, is the young Brit. What a shame. And now we can see drivers trying to make dices for position there. Berman is going to cause a problem if he's not careful here. The front wing goes as he pulls off the circuit. And he stays out of everyone's way. And he retires at the end of lap 3. Berman not having the best of seasons so far. And it's the end of the race for him here in Turkey. Here's McGonaughin with a lead of nearly 3 seconds over Earl Bamber. Jean-Luc Vergne is 3rd ahead of Sebastian Buemi. We are looking at the Pacific of Pietro Fittipaldi, who's in front of Mitch Evans and Romain Grosjean. There's a lot of dicing going on in the midfield as well, whilst we were watching Ollie Berman pull off. And someone has hit trouble ahead. That is the Pacific of Brendan Hartley. And it looks like he's going to be out of the race on the exit of turn 7. We'll go to him in a moment, but we are seeing the 2 Prosts in your picture. Jean-Luc Vergne ahead of Sebastian Buemi. And Hartley's pulled off. He's been hit from behind. Who was it that ran into him? We'll have a look to see. He went to the left, then to the right, and it was Grosjean that ran into him. Now, it looked dangerous the way Brendan Hartley swerved across. Did Grosjean have enough time to avoid it? Do you know what? I think he did. I think he did have enough time to avoid that. Hartley was pulling off anyway, but it doesn't excuse the fact that Grosjean had run into him. Grosjean's got front wing damage anyway, so the punishment may fit the crime there, but Brendan Hartley retires yet again in the Pacific. The team have struggled so far this season for consistency. They were one of the promoted teams from League 2, came into this round second from bottom. The only team behind them are Marscard Lolo. Hartley retires with a loose wheel. There's the cause. And what will the stewards take on the collision between him and Grosjean? We'll find out in a second. And it's a one-race ban for Roman Grosjean for dangerous driving. So not only is he out of this race, but he's out of the next two in Parnu and in Anderstorp. He's come into the pits as well as the Frenchman for a new front wing. And, well, that just sums up his day already, even after 4 laps. Now, the thing is with the regulations, if you take out 2 cars in the same race that resulted in retirements, then that is a 2-race ban. If it takes out another driver in this one, it'll be 3 and so on. But now we're about to see a change for position as Sebastian Buemi lines up a move on Jean-Luc Verne into turn number 9. And it's the Swiss that makes his way through into the podium positions. That's an important move there, and Verne did not fight it. And Grosjean on his outlap is really struggling to keep his car on the circuit. Now, the reserve driver at Marscard Lola, don't think Mick Schumacher is in the team anymore, as far as I know, but I'll double check. It is Mick Schumacher who's the reserve driver, and so he'll be substituting for Grosjean for the next 2 races. Here's Latifi ahead of Dixon and Kobayashi. Kvyat 8th, Newgarden 9th, and Verline still inside the points in 10th. Gunnavan is over 3 seconds clear of Earl Bamber. If he is doing the 2-stop, it's no wonder he's been pulling away from the field. See Verline, Rosenqvist there. And it's Lawrence Van Tor, Kevin Estra. 2 Onyxes running not too badly. Scott McLaughlin, 14th position. And it's the second HRT of Christopher Bell in P15. And there is Lawrence Van Tor going through on Felix Rosenqvist. And there is the Onyx through on the arrows into P11. Nice overtake there by the Belgian. You can see Obamba in second place trying to keep up with Matavir Raghunathan ahead. Looking to see who's made up what from their starting positions. Raghunathan's still in the same position as before. Jean-Luc Verne is down 2. Buemi is in the same position as before. Olbamba is up 2. Scott Dixon is down 2. Nicholas Latifi, I believe, is up 1. Felix Rosenqvist is outside the points in 11th. He's down 4. Pascal Verline is down 2. Lawrence Van Tor is up. Well, he's down 1. And Kvyat is up 2. 3 drivers out of the race so far. Brendan Hartley, Ollie Berman and Antonio Giovinazzi. I can tell you that Joseph Newgarden has been making up positions from the start. He was outside the top 10, he's 11th, he's now 9th. There goes the HRT of, is that Christopher Bell, I believe, on Kevin Estra for 14th. I don't think it'll be too long before Marcus Ericsson follows suit. And there goes Ericsson. Is there enough room for both cars to get through together? There's not quite enough room, but the four-cylinder gets alongside. He's got through on the Von Mattel there. Is that Antonio Felix da Costa who just made his way through, or was that Rafael Marcello? I couldn't quite tell from that angle. There's a change of position there, and Marcus Ericsson is now in a Force India sandwich. Pascal Wehrlein, the race winner in League 2 on this circuit last season. He's running just inside the points. Good qualifying from him. There we see Rigonathan. Now BIR have already tasted victory this season. Running in 4th. So we see Da Costa go for it. Couldn't quite get through on Kevin Estra. There's the rear wing of Kevin Estra. He's got Antonio Felix da Costa behind. Just about to overtake him, believe it or not. Thinking of it might have been Lawrence Van Sor we were looking at, not Kevin Estra, but Marcus Ericsson is finding his way through on Kevin Estra, and that's him going past. I wonder if Estra is on a one-stop strategy here, because he's allowing all those who are on lighter fuel loads to make mincemeats of him. Seconds, heading through turns 5 and 6. He's over 3 seconds in front of Sebastian Buemi. Sebastian Buemi in P3. Got a battle for 5th place involving Nicholas Latifi and Kamui Kobayashi for position. We're looking at Lawrence Van Tor in P10. I was going to mention this before. Season 5 calendar has been unveiled, which I'll kindly run through right now. So we start off a brand new venue. That is the Caribbean Grand Prix in Aruba. It's off to Campo Grande in Brazil. La Plata in Argentina for round 3, rounding off the South America triple header. It's off to North America at Indianapolis. And it's off to Rockingham in the United Kingdom, which is a new venue. It's off to Dijon-Bourgogne in France for round 6, Jerez in Spain, Mugello in Italy. It's Hockenheim in round 9, which will be the venue for the mid-season test. This is on the new layout this time, as opposed to the old one, which the Grand Prix Series has used before. The second half begins in Poznan in Poland, Brno in the Czech Republic. Round 12 will be at the Koyala circuit in Finland. And it's off to Marrakesh in Morocco, which we used in Season 1. And we head to Kyalami in South Africa. It's New Delhi in India, which will be the first time the Grand Prix Series since Chennai. As we see Kvyat pull out in the Marscard Lola, and that's effectively race done for Marcus Johansson's team. That is a terrible shame. Kvyat retires after another brilliant drive. What a disastrous day for the team who are trying to stave off relegation. And to resume where I left off, Fuji in Japan will return as the host of the Japanese round, and it's off to Sepang in Malaysia for the 17th and penultimate round, with the 18th and final round being in Adelaide, Australia. And then following that will be the non-championship Macau Grand Prix to wrap up the season. So it'll be a record 18 rounds next season for the Grand Prix Series, as opposed to 16 which we've had for the last 3. Well, there is Mathieu Raghunathan. We are looking at Marcus Ericsson, who's in 15th place right now. And Kvyat's retirement has promoted Newgarden, Van Tor and Rosenqvist up into the points. Verline, McLaughlin, Bell, DeCosta and Ericsson also moving up in the top 15. And we are not too far away from pit stops happening either. We're going to cross them line to complete the first quarter of the League 1 Istanbul Grand Prix. Are we going to be seeing anyone pitting in this lap? And the answer to that question is probably no, although Kevin Estre nearly connecting with Mitch Evans at turn 12. Earl Bamber in second place, going after Mathieu Raghunathan. He's pulling further clear and clear up the road. There's Bamber, there is Raghunathan coming out of turns 9 and 10. Now we're looking at Rafael Marcello, who's in 16th position behind Marcus Ericsson. Now we're looking at Shane van Gisbergen in the manor, and now we are seeing Mitch Evans going through on Kevin Estre, and we've got Mathieu Raghunathan coming into the pits at the end of lap 12. An early stop for him, and that hands the lead over to Earl Bamber. What will the two Prost drivers be doing? Lawrence Van Tor coming in for Onyx. And the stop for Raghunathan has got him out in 8th place, ahead of Felix Rosenqvist. That's important for him. Clean air. And he'll be hoping that some of those ahead will be heading into the pits sooner rather than later, ideally on this lap. He's over 7 seconds back from Newgarden, but that's okay for him. But Newgarden is behind his old IndyCar adversary Scott Dixon in the battle for 6th position. Dixon needs a strong result today. He's running out of races and he's running out of time as the reigning Grand Prix World Series champion coming into this 7th in the standings. Verne in P3, who's already a Grand Prix World Series champion himself with BAR. And we are about to see the two HRTs swapping positions almost. Christopher Bell behind Scott McLaughlin. Sebastian Buemi in P2, and we are looking at Kevin Estre under attack from Kyle Kirkwood, who sends one up the inside, and it's no wonder why he did that, because Kevin Estre has pulled off with a problem, and he is the next to retire. Not a good sight for team manager Ryan Ferris. Coming into this round, Onyx are running in 9th, 6 points away from the bottom 3. With the way things are going, though, I mean, Mars Lola are not going to be scoring. Neither are Pacific, realistically. Fonmetal could well get something out of it. And maybe Mana if they have half a chance. So it's not all doom and gloom for the team. And plus, Lawrence Van Sor has just been in for a pit stop. He could well be in contention for a points finish today on his Grand Prix World Series debut. Sebastian Buemi, second for Prost. Championship leader coming into this round. Race winner in Hokawa Pagua. The Prost team haven't won since, but they've maintained their run of consistency up to this point. Now we see Newgarden coming into turn 12 behind Scott Dixon. Ahead of Dixon are Nicholas Latifi and Kamiri Kobayashi. You can see Maverick Gunnarsson closing on the quadruplet. Gunnarsson is now 3.8 seconds behind Newgarden already. DeCosta coming into the pits for Force India. Hoping that Newgarden, Dixon, Latifi and Kobayashi pitting within the next lap or two. There we see Jean-Luc Verne in third place. Now, any one of the top 4 could lead the championship today. They are Buemi, Rosenquist, Bamber and Newgarden. Newgarden not taking pole, it's impossible for him to come away as the championship leader, because Gunnarsson picks up the pole position point, and Earl Bamber comes in from the race lead. You see Marcello lock up. So let's continue. And Kobayashi has come in from 4th place. And the Gunnarsson will be all over the back of Newgarden in a moment. McLaughlin and Ericsson are also in. Colin Kirkwood just trying to get his arrows through the corner there. And it looks like Van Gisbergen has come in for Mana. See the Onyx of Lawrence Van Sor going through on Pietro Fittipaldi for 13th. Now, was there contact made between the pair of them? I don't think there was, you know. No, I think it's just Fittipaldi just trying to allow Van Sor to go because he knew that he was going to lose out on that. Nicholas Latifi in 3rd place. Furline is ahead of Bamber. Ooh, that was very nearly chopping across there on the Leighton House. Bamber will get through on the Fonmetal very, very quickly here, and there's no doubt about that. And we see DeCosta behind the HRT of Scott McLaughlin, who's allowed his teammate Christopher Bell to go past. back to Vern, who's in P2 behind Sebastian Buemi. It's a Prost 1-2 on track. McGonaghan is no longer behind Newgarden because Newgarden's come in. It's all falling into place for McGonaghan so far. The Prost drivers continuing on their way. Scenario for the French squad. You see Latifi in third, Dixon in fourth. Jonathan closing in behind. Mitch Evans coming in for Manor. And Bamber coming up behind Rosenquist for position. And that was not a hard overtake for him to get to do. And there we see Vern. And we now see Newgarden doing a carbon copy of what his teammate did on an Arrows driver, this time with Kyle Kirkwood. And the Arrows drivers are beginning to really struggle today. It's been another day to forget. Not so far for the Prost team though. See Van Soort in P12 make that P11 because he's got through on Kirkwood. Jonathan 9/10 behind Dixon. Well, it'll be less than that now. The gap is just over half a second, and McGonaghan will be fancying his chances to get by the Minardi, even though Dixon hasn't come in for a stop yet. Now, how will Prost play this one out? There's Latifi in P3. And look at Bell. 14th position, aiming for points on debut. Is finally through on Scott Dixon. Next driver ahead of him is Nicholas Latifi. How long it'll be before we see any of these come in for their first stops. And in fact, Dixon has found his way past McGonaghan again. So McGonaghan thought he got the job done on Dixon, but Dixon was able to get back into the slipstream and find a way past the BAR again. And there we see Shane van Gisbergen heading past Romain Grosjean, who we already know will be excluded from the race and out of the next two in Parnu and Anderstorp. Here's Sebastian Buemi as we see Pietro Fittipaldi struggling in the Pacific. What will team manager Kevin McMullen be thinking at this moment in time? Jean-Luc Verne in P2. Behind race leader and teammate Sebastian Buemi. Verne hasn't won in the Grand Prix Series since he became champion in Season 1 with BAR. And now his former team, driven by Matavira Gunnathan, is making his way back through on Scott Dixon. But will it be a repeat of what it was before, thanks to the superior horsepower that the Minardi has? And Dixon may be able to find his way back through again. And he's going for the inside again. Dixon gets back through on Raghunathan again. Raghunathan is losing time. And this is allowing Earl Bamber to close in. And this is handing the race further and further into Prost's hands. Nicholas Latifi in third place still. Lap 20. Buemi leading Vern. Latifi third, and it's Dixon, McGunnathan, Bamber, Rosenquist, Verline, Kobayashi, and Newgarden. Lawrence Vantore outside the points in P11, and it's Kyle Kirkwood on debut in 12th, and it's Bell on his debut in 13th. Brooklyn, Fittipaldi in the top 15. Won't be too long before we see the one-stoppers making their moves into the pits. There we see the Force India behind Fittipaldi. Oh, and Dixon's crashed! And all four wheels have come off the wagon! And contact, oh my goodness me! The lightest of contacts sends Dixon off the road, and all the wheels coming off the wagon, and Minardi's race is over, and Scott Dixon retires yet again. Gunnathan went for the move. Oh, and Dixon just cuts across as Gunnathan tries to make his way through. We'll leave for that for the stewards to decide. But what will the stewards say on that? Dixon's out, we know that for a fact. And the verdicts will be as follows. As Dixon's car is being lifted over the barrier. And once we cut away from it, we'll know what the stewards will say on that. It's a one-race ban and a disqualification for Matthew Gunnathan from this race. That is a very controversial decision. And I would imagine that team manager Will Knight will have every reason to appeal that after this race is over. You could argue that it was avoidable, but at the same time, Gunnathan did leave Dixon enough space, but it's the fact that he just sort of jinked across on the Minardi and making the lightest of contact and sending Dixon out of the race. So that's two drivers now out of the race, and Gunnathan is also banned for the next race in Parnu. There is Buemi. I think whilst we were talking, someone came into the pits at the end of the previous lap. I couldn't really see who it was because we were concentrating on the incident with Dixon and Gunnathan. But this is not what Minardi needed. A really poor season after the success of the previous campaign. It's really falling apart for them. Latifi running in third place now, ahead of his teammate for this race, Gunnathan. Now the reserve driver, as Jean-Eric Verne comes into the pits, the reserve driver for BAR is Shanok Nisani, who is the father of the former Formula 2 driver Roy Nisani. Pascal Verlaine coming into the pits for Mattel for his only stop of the race. And Verne, after completing his stop, is running in 8th now behind Gunnathan. And there we see Grosjean there locking up in front of Mitch Evans. You see these two going through turn one together. You see Mitch Evans behind the Mastercard Lola. Evans will want to get by Grosjean anyway. You see Latifi running second now on the track. The gap between Jonathan and Bamber, through all the shenanigans, the gap is now 1.5 seconds. And both have pitted for their first stops, and they are due to pit in again. Buemi pits in a lap after his teammate. And imagine that both him and Vern are going to be closer together this time. As we see Ericsson go for it on Fittipaldi into turn 9. And that's him through there. Rosenquist coming in for arrows. And Vern has got through on Vantor, has he? In fact, no, he's back in again, is Vern. Vern has picked up an issue on this lap. I don't know what's happened to Vern, but he has picked up a mechanical issue somewhere, and that has forced him into the pits a lap after his scheduled stop. Disaster for Prost. Buemi rejoins in 5th place, but Vern's unscheduled stop at the most inconvenient time has forced him to come in again. Now he's got a mountain to climb, has the Frenchman. What could have been a Prost 1-2 by the end of this race, well, that's not going to be happening now, that's for certain. Earl Bamber in 3rd place. Behind Matt Viragunathan, who will be excluded from the race result for taking out Scott Dixon at turn 9. There's no doubt that that's going to be discussed afterwards, and even now, whilst the team managers have been watching this. Buemi getting through on Buemi for 4th place on circuit. Buemi, now that he's on fresh tyres, may go for a fastest lap if he's feeling it. McLaughlin finding a way through on Christopher Bell, almost by the looks of it. They're running in the points, these two now, as is Kyle Kirkwood, albeit briefly because he's just come in the arrows. So that will promote the 2 HRTs up into the points, as well as Antonio Felix da Costa. Nicholas Latifi in the lead then, ahead of Matt Viragunathan. Latifi hasn't stopped yet in this race though. The gap between Ragunathan and Bamber is 1.2 seconds as Rosenquist gets the move done on Rafael Marcello. That's a change for position, and that's him going through. Chance that Vern can get back into the points, but it's not going to be anything like what it would have been had it been without that mechanical issue. And BAR's race goes from bad to worse. It's all crumbling for them here. Nicholas Latifi slows down at turn 11, and the Canadian is out of the League One Istanbul Grand Prix, and that pretty much puts the kibosh on what's been a disappointing day for Will Knight's team. And Latifi's front right tyre decides to part ways with the car. And that is a very sorry sight for the squad, who were looking good for another win, but now it's going to be nothing for them here. Another twist in the race, but at least Latifi hasn't come together with anyone. I think it's a rear suspension failure that caused Latifi to retire. So that is him gone from this one. As we see, Buemi go back up into 3rd place. Jean-Luc Verne is outside the top 15 as we speak. Let's see if he can find his way back through the field. And there is Ragunathan, who's got Earl Bamber right behind now. There is Christopher Bell ahead of his teammate in P7. Antonio Felix da Costa and Felix Rosenquist next behind in the points. And through all of this, Lawrence Vantor, who was one of the first drivers to come in for a scheduled stop on lap 12, I believe, is now up into P6. He is due in the pits again before this race is over, but it's been a solid effort on his debut. now we look at Scott McLaughlin line up a move on Christopher Bell and the two swap positions, and McLaughlin goes up into 7th place. We're looking at Marcus Ericsson, the reigning League 2 Drivers' Champion, in 12th position. Jean-Luc Verne gets past Mitch Evans for 15th. He's looking to make his way back through the field now, is the Frenchman. And now we're looking at the battle for the lead. Ragunathan ahead of Bamber. Now, Ragunathan may be filled with rage, but he won't want to make the situation even worse by coming together with someone again. This is an important moment in the race now. Both Ragunathan and Bamber are due in the pits again, but if they start fighting with each other, that'll hand the race to Buemi and to Prost. Jean-Luc Verne in 15th position ahead of the manor of Mitch Evans. The next driver ahead is the other manor of Shane van Gisbergen. Manor really have disappointed so far this season. Da Costa's got through on Bell for 8th. These two are still fighting it out there as Newgarden comes in. And further behind, we're looking at Rosenquist through on Bell. And it looks like Bell really is beginning to struggle here, unless he's picked up a problem. It could just be that he's on older tyres compared to others. Da Costa has come in for Force India. Now back with Buemi, who's in front of Kobayashi. Now Verne going for it on Van Gisbergen into turn 1, and the move is done for the Prost. And that is him into 13th place. Next driver ahead of Verne is Pascal Wehrlein. Buemi is continuing on his way. Good for another win once Ragunathan and Bamber both make their way into the pit lane. Newgarden running in 9th on track. He's just made his final stop. Behind Newgarden is the Force India of Rafael Marciello. Way things are going in the championship, Buemi's 3rd place, which will become the lead. If he was to come away with the race win, he'll go on to 110 points. Christopher Bell looking up at 10-13. And Vansor coming in for the 2nd time. A wonderful race by his standards as well. Will go on to 110 points. Rosenquist is running in 6th place, is the Swede. It's uncertain as to where he'll end up once all the stops are done. But with him, he's already done his only stop of the race, is Rosenquist, so he may be able to get into the top 5 after all. If he gets at least 10 points, I can put him on 85. Earl Bamber, who's a contender for the race win now, there's no doubt about that. Fittipaldi and Grosjean heading through. Van Gisbergen rejoins ahead of Evans. Now we look at the two leaders of Ragunathan and Bamber. Newgarden getting past Christopher Bell at turn 9. And That's another change for position. Nicely done there. Vern is 3 seconds behind Verline. Still between Regunathan and Bamber. Buemi will be closing in on them all the time. And if Regunathan and Bamber were to pit in now, they would rejoin ahead comfortably of Scott McLaughlin in 5th. And Marcello comes in for his last stop. Racing Chris running in P6 in the Arrows. His teammate Carl Kirkwood is in P13 on his Grand Prix World Series debut. And we've got Regunathan and Bamber both in the pits at the same time. Buemi will go into the lead and Kobayashi will go into second place. There is Buemi. In fact, no, Kobayashi is in as well, so Bamber and Regunathan will rejoin in second and third places. Regunathan gets out in front of Bamber. And Kobayashi, well, is he going to get out in front of McLaughlin? He will do, because McLaughlin is in the pits. And Kobayashi, he's going to fall behind Felix Rosenquist. Newgarden is ahead of Kobayashi as well. Rosenquist ahead of Newgarden. Newgarden will be on better tyres though compared to the Arrows. It's going to be very difficult for Rosenquist to hold him back. But these two are now in contention for the race win. Well, at least Regunathan thought it would be. He may as well still go for it unless, in case Will Knight decides to appeal against the steward's decision to disqualify him for the race for taking out Scott Dixon. The gap between Buemi and Regunathan is 16 seconds. Regunathan has to take out over a second on Buemi to have any chance of coming away with a win. But this is what we saw at Zolder, if you remember. Sean Vern got penalised for running into Felix Rosenquist at the start, wrecking his rear wing. And he got a 30-second time penalty as a consequence. He won the race on the road, but dropped down the order. Dropped down to P6 after the penalty. And the race winner was Matvei Regunathan of all drivers. How times have changed. There we see Van Gisbergen behind Roman Grosjean. Mitch Evans isn't too far behind his teammate either. And the will get through on Grosjean sooner rather than later. Buemi carrying on. Bell and Ericsson are both in the pits. Verline in front of Vern. And Vern will be under attack from Lawrence Van Tor in a moment. But Vern will want to get on with it and get through on Verline. If Regunathan's disqualification was to stand, Bamber and Newgarden would be second and third. It would be a good day for the team, considering where both cars ended up in qualifying. Newgarden started 11th on the grid. Now, looking at Article 12.7 on the regulations for the Grand Prix World Series, it says if a driver is disqualified having started from pole position, they are entitled to keep the bonus point for pole position as qualifying was completed before the race in which the driver was disqualified. If a driver is disqualified having set the fastest lap, they are not entitled to keep the bonus point, as they are disqualified from the race in which the driver was disqualified. The fast lap point does not carry over to the next fastest driver. And that's a very interesting point, actually, and this is not something we've quite had before in the Grand Prix series. But that's something worth noting. So Raghunathan will keep the championship point for pole position, even if he is disqualified from the result. And the fastest lap point, which Raghunathan currently holds, does not go down to the next fastest lap driver. So I think if you are Will Knight, the team manager, you may as well appeal it. I can tell you the gap that Raghunathan is able to get down on Buemi is 13.6 seconds in Sector 1. And looking at Jean-Eric Vergne's progress after having to come in for a second time around half race distance. How close is he to Pascal Wehrlein now? That's what we want to be having a look. We're looking at, that's Mitch Evans by the looks of it. In 19th position behind Shane van Gisbergen. Vergne is still behind Wehrlein, but can he find a way through on the back straight? Well, we're looking at it now. Vergne looking to go for it, but there's just not enough room, and that's going to encourage Laurens van Tor behind. So Vergne has to get on with it here. Well, he's going for a move now. Up the inside goes Jean-Eric Vergne, and he's finally through on Pascal Wehrlein. That move was coming all along, but he's wasted so much time, stuck behind the Fonmetal. But Vergne has got through on the German. He's into P7. And with Raghunathan's disqualification as it is, he'll go up to P6, which will be some recovery. One driver who's had a strong race as well is Kamui Kobayashi, who's now in front of Joseph Newgarden for 4th place on circuit, which will become 3rd with the race going as it is. Raghunathan's got the gap down to 12.5 seconds. Let's keep on track with Raghunathan's gap on Buemi, because I don't think he's quite taken enough out of the margin. He's got it down to 12.1 by Sector 2. But when he crosses over the line, there'll be 11 laps to go. And I can imagine he'll have got the gap down by less than, maybe by about half a second, considering the last sector's nature. There we see Laurens van Tor going through on Pascal Wehrlein for 8th place. And that will please Ryan Ferris for sure. Wehrlein down to 9th in the Fonmetal. Unless he can fight back at the end of the back straight going into turn 12. Well, Ed Spencer's race isn't getting any better at the moment because Christopher Bell has got through on Rafael Marciello for 13th, and it's behind. And Earl Bamper's engine has gone up in smoke from 3rd position. It's another retirement for the late house pilot, and another twist to this race, and in the context of the championship, in both the drivers and in the teams. That makes Raghunathan's race easier. It most certainly makes Buemi's race much easier. But it's Bamber who retires on lap 34. Kobayashi will go through, as will Newgarden. I can tell you that Wehrlein got back through on Van Tor at the end of the back straight, which will give Vergne a little bit of a bother as he goes up into 6th place now. And he is actually catching Rosenquist's Vergne, albeit not by much. McLaughlin goes up into the points, as does Kirkwood, so Kirkwood is in the points on debut. You see the rest of the field moving up the order now as well. Wehrlein and Van Tor swapping places, but I think Van Tor is finally through at last on Pascal Wehrlein into P7. There goes Scott McLaughlin on Kyle Kirkwood for P9. And next behind Kirkwood is the Force India of Antonio Felix da Costa. And we see Pascal Wehrlein locking up. Keep the car on the island, Pascal, which he does so. And Van Tor can set his sights on Jean-Eric Vergne, who is going after Felix Rosenqvist in the Arrows. And Wehrlein making his way through turn number 1. The gap between Buemi and Raghunathan has come down to 10.7 in sector 1. And Kyle Kirkwood has hit trouble in the Arrows, and his point has gone out the window, and he is out of the race. That's another retirement for Topher Smith's team. And it's back to the drawing board for them. And we're hoping that the same doesn't strike Rosenqvist in the closing stages. And Van Gisbergen has finally got through on Grosjean for 15th position. Over the line with 9 laps to go. The gap between Buemi and Raghunathan is now 10.2. So if Raghunathan's going to win this race, he's got to take a minimum of 1.2 seconds out of Buemi to have any chance of a lunge on the last lap. That's pretty academic at the moment because of Raghunathan's disqualification, as Van Tor a little bit wide into turn 13 there. And the gap between Rosenqvist and Vergne is less than 5 seconds. If Raghunathan maintains the fastest lap, he won't retain it because he'll be excluded from the race result, and the fastest lap point will not go down to the next driver. And that'll be an unprecedented scenario in the Grand Prix Series. We've not had a race where the fast lap point has not gone to anyone. .6 seconds it's come down to in sector 2. Remember, it was 10.2 seconds at the beginning of the lap. Raghunathan's only taken 6/10 out of Buemi on this lap so far. The gap over the line is 9.3 seconds, so it's only 9/10 that Raghunathan has taken out of Buemi. Kobayashi in 3rd place, on course for a well-deserved podium. He's been fantastic today. As Kobayashi, it'll be his 5th points finish in the last 6 rounds, and this will propel him easily into the top 10. He'll get a 2nd place finish out of it. It'll be his first podium of the season and his first for Simtek. Rosenqvist being chased by Jean-Eric Vergne. Vergne getting the gap down. It's less than 4.4 seconds between the pair. And there is Buemi. He'll be 7 laps away from his 5th Grand Prix Series victory. It'll be his 2nd of the campaign, and he'll extend his lead at the top. 8.5 seconds is the margin, with 7 to go. Kamui Kobayashi in P3. to second once the results have been, the penalty's been applied. And with that, it'll promote Shonick Fern back up into 5th place. It'll be a super day for the Prost team. So easy could have been a 1-2. Had it not been for Vern's mechanical issue. I'd forced him to make another stop. Bell. Here's the debutant there. In P11 ahead of Marcus Ericsson and Rafael Marcello. So out of all those towards the bottom end of the field, Lawrence Vansor is on course to get 6 points. Von Mattel on course to get 4, courtesy of Pascal Verline on his return. So Onyx will pull further clear of the drop zone, and Von Mattel will leap out of the bottom 3 at the expense of Manor, who will drop in with Pacific and MasterCard Lola. Those teams at the bottom end have got a lot of work to do in the remaining races. The upgrade window does open after this round, which will give the team managers a chance to increase the amount of brake horsepower or reliability. Matthew Raghunathan in P2 on track. Although bearing in mind actually, with with Matthew Raghunathan's disqualification, Vansor will move up to 6th and Verline 7th, which will favour both of those teams even more, which is not good news for Manor, Pacific and MasterCard Lola. Kobayashi in 2nd place, looking very, very good. 7.3 seconds. Buemi hit trouble now. He could rejoin still in front of Kamui Kobayashi by pitting in. He'll be on much fresher tyres and on a low amount of fuel. Between Rosenquist and Fern is 3.7 seconds. I think it's safe to say that Rosenquist has got that covered now, unless he makes a huge mistake in the closing stages. In regards to the team's championship, in fact, we'll go on to the drivers first. Sebastian Buemi will get 25 championship points. He'll go on to 110. Rosenquist will get 12 for finishing 4th, give him 87. El Bamba won't be scoring today. Newgarden will move in front of him with his podium position. 3rd place. Put him on to 73. It's looking increasingly likely it's between 4 drivers for the championship. 2 of which from Leighton House, 1 from Arrows and 1 from Prost. Buemi is doing everything he needs to do. As we see, McLaughlin running in 9th in the HRT. On track anyway, she'll become 8th. And given where he is at the moment, Christopher Bell is going to pick up the last point. All of this could change, of course, if BAR team manager Will Knight was to decide to appeal the decision, and I wouldn't blame him if he did. Losing 2nd place and a fastest lap is pretty much a big deal. And the fact that Latifi isn't finishing today tells you something else. And there's Roman Grosjean, who will also be excluded from the race result for taking out Antonio Giovinazzi on the opening lap and for dangerous driving when he ran into Brendan Hartley as the Kiwi had pulled off with a mechanical problem. Kobayashi in P3. Over 20 seconds behind Murphy Raghunathan, but he's got enough in hand over Joseph Newgarden to retain what will be his second place. Look at Rafael Marcello, who's not going to be scoring today. His teammate will be, though. Da Costa inside the points in 10th, which will become 9th. For Da Costa, it will be 2 points finishes in a row, which is the first time this season he'll have accomplished that. Now, 3 laps remaining. Buemi's lead over Raghunathan over the line is 6 seconds. Buemi has most certainly got this covered now, unless anything disastrous strikes him. And you can see Raghunathan locking up there at turn 4. There is Buemi. Very strong now, on his way to his second win of the season. It'll be Prost's 4th win in the Grand Prix Series. Buemi's last win came at Hakara Pagua in the opening rounds. Look at Kamui Kobayashi on course for a much needed podium for Simtek after what's been a tricky season for them. Looking at the team's championship with the way things are, Prost, if it's a 1st and a 5th, that'll be 35 championship points for them. They'll move on to 162. Leighton House will be picking up 15, which would put them on to 135. Arrows in 3rd place, with Rosenqvist on course for 4th place. I'll move on to 115. Simtek, with their podium coming in their way, 18 championship points. You'll see them leapfrog HRT, Minardi and BAR into 4th spot. We're on the penultimate lap now. Sebastian Buemi very, very close. The gap between Rosenqvist and Verne has come down to less than 3 seconds as those two begin the penultimate lap. I don't think Verne's going to have enough time to make a move on Rosenqvist, but he'll give it a good old go. See Kobayashi in P3. On track anyway. About 2.5 seconds the gap between Rosenqvist and Verne. These two will be going through sets of 1 now. And the gap is just under 2.5 seconds. Buemi, he's coming through the last corner now. We'll have another 5.4 kilometres to get through. We'll see the checker flag inside those. Raghunathan in the background. Looking at Mitch Evans, who's at the back in 16th place. He's in a battle with Romain Grosjean. He'll be hoping to not run into any more drivers today. But Buemi is now on his last lap. What a sterling effort from the Prost team today. 2nd and 3rd on the grid, and it's going to be a win and a 5th. It was the kind of result they had been waiting for. And to keep their realistic hopes of a championship coming in their way at the end of the season, maybe even both. There's still 7 rounds to go after this one. But when the opportunities do come around to you, you need to make the most of them, because you know you're not going to win every single race. You know you're not going to achieve every single podium. It's about picking up what you can get on the day. It could have been a 1-2 finish, but a first and a fifth will most certainly do for the Prost team to elevate them closer towards the title for both Sebastian Buemi and for the Prost team. 3 more corners to get through for the Swiss driver. A remarkable performance from Sebastian Buemi to extend his championship lead in League 1. 1 more corner to get through. Sebastian Buemi powers his way over the line to win the League 1 Istanbul Grand Prix. Prost win once again. What a remarkable performance from them today. Matthew Ragunathan crosses over the line in second place, but he'll be disqualified from the race for taking out Scott Dixon at turn 9. That is subject to appeal, but we'll take it as a disqualification for now at least. Kamui Kobayashi will take home second place in the Simtech, his first podium of the season. It's been a long time coming, but he's got there in the end. Joseph Newgarden, another podium for him, and for Leighton House, with Felix Rosenqvist holding off Jean-Luc Vergne to the flag. Vergne recovering well to 5th place, Rosenqvist 4th. And we've got Lawrence Van Tor, another brilliant performance for him and for the Onyx team in what is 6th. Verline 7th on his return for Von Mittal, and it's McLaughlin 8th, DaCosta 9th, and Christopher Bell on his debut for HRT, picking up the last point. Marcus Ericsson 11th, ahead of Rafael Marciello, with Pietro Fittipaldi, Shane van Gisbergen, and Mitch Evans the rest to finish. But Romain Grosjean, who will be the last over the line, is excluded and out of the next 2 races for taking out drivers at the beginning of the race. It's yet another win for Sebastian Buemi and for Prost. They extend their championship lead at both the top of the drivers and the team's championships. Sebastian Buemi wins ahead of Kamui Kobayashi, ahead of Joseph Newgarden in 3rd place and running out the podium. Felix Rosenqvist and Jean-Luc Vergne are 4th and 5th, ahead of Lawrence Van Tor, Pascal Wehrlein, Scott McLaughlin, Antonio Felix DaCosta and Christopher Bell, rounding out the top 10. In 11th position, you have got Marcus Ericsson, Rafael Marciello is 12th, Pietro Fittipaldi, Shane van Gisbergen and Mitch Evans with the rest to finish. Kyle Kirkwood retired with suspension failure. El Bamba also with an engine problem. He could have been the winner today. Nicholas Latifi also retired with suspension issues. Scott Dixon got taken out by Matthew Ragunathan. Kevin Estre also out along with Danny Kvyat. Brendan Hartley, Ollie Berman and Antonio Giovinazzi also retired. Matthew Ragunathan disqualified for taking out Scott Dixon and also banned for the next race in Parnu. Romain Grosjean also out for taking out Antonio Giovinazzi at the start, and also for dangerous driving with Brendan Hartley in the early stages. Matthew Ragunathan set the fast lap of the race, but because he's disqualified, that point does not get carried over to anyone else. No one picks up the fast lap today, but Ragunathan, by setting in pole position before the race started, he is allowed to keep that point. I think we've learnt a lot today, most certainly myself, and I have to say we are looking forward to the next round in Parnu because it's going to be very, very interesting. Sebastian Buemi, with his victory, extends his lead at the top of the Drivers' Championship. With the way things have gone today, he is now clear of Felix Rosenqvist, El Bamba and Joseph Newgarden. The gap at the top is now extended to my maths. It is 23 points with 7 races to go. It's still all to play for, but it's looking very, very strong for both Buemi and Prost in the championship. It's time to run down on the League 1 Drivers and Team Championships in the voice of Topher Smith, and I'll see you for the next round in Parnu in a couple of weeks' time.
Well, another race filled with drama and controversy, and Sebastian Buemi extends his lead in the Drivers' Championship, but the main talking points will be Mathieu Ragunathan's disqualification from second place, and Tom Cairns alluded to it in commentary, but just to clarify the rule, because qualifying took place before the race, the disqualification does not apply to qualifying, and therefore Ragunathan keeps his points for pole position, but will not keep the points for the fastest lap. So for the first time in Grand Prix World Series history, we will have a fastest lap point that is not allocated to anyone. But what has that race done to the driver's standings? Well, Sebastian Buemi, as I've already said, extends his lead. He's now on 110 points, with his nearest challenger, Felix Rosenqvist, on 87 points. Joseph Newgarden overtakes his teammate to move up to third on 73 points. Bamber's on 62, one ahead of Scott McLaughlin in the HRT. Kobayashi's second place today moves him up to sixth in the standings on 53, one ahead of Mahavira Kunathan. I'm not sure we will have heard the last of his disqualification. I imagine Will Knight will throw an appeal at that one. Jean-Eric Verne, 8th in the Prost on 52, ahead of Scott Dixon and Raffaele Marcello. Dixon still continuing his poor season, being taken out by Raghunathan today. That is a no score for the Kiwi. Looking at the team standings, Prost extends its lead on 162 points ahead of Leighton House on 135, Arrows on 115, and Simtek gets itself a bit closer to the top three today, now on 88 points, 10 ahead of BAR on 78, Minardi on 77, HRT on 76, Force India on 54, Onyx on 41, and Fomital getting itself out of the relegation zone on 33. Mana, Pacific and Mascar Lola now occupy those bottom three positions, but with 7 races left to go, that could all still change. And with an upgrade window coming as well, team managers will be looking to put more power or reliability into their cars. We could see a bit of the change in the pecking order, but we'll have to wait to see what happens when we come to Pärnu next time out in Estonia. That's due to be another classic encounter in the Grand Prix World Series. We thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoy the racing. And until next time, I'm Topher Smith. Take care.